Do you agree? Then everything on the left-hand side is a factor of the answer on the right-hand side. Stem julle saam? 2 is 'n faktor van 13. 3 is 'n faktor van 30, sorry. 2 is 'n faktor van 30. 3 is 'n faktor van 30 en 5 is 'n faktor van 30. Do you guys agree? Okay. Now the same holds for when we are busy with polynomials. So when we have, think fast. I was talking to myself. If we have two brackets is equal to a trinomial, julle stem saam, 'n hakie maal 'n hakie gee vir jou 3 term. Dan beteken dit hierdie hakie is 'n faktor van hierdie 3 term. En hierdie hakie is ook 'n faktor van daai 3 term. I'm going to say it again, maar kom ons begin weer by die ene. Stem julle saam dat 2 maal 3 maal 5 is 30? Wat beteken 2 en 3 en 5 is almal faktore van 30. Okay, nou gaan net en vervang daai 2 en 3 en 5 met hakies. If we have something multiplied by something and it gives you an answer, then it means all of those somethings has to be factors of your answer. So ek pas dit nou net toe op hierdie volgende lyntjie wat sê as ek 'n hakie maal 'n hakie het wat vir my 3 term gee, dan beteken dit al twee daai hakies moet faktore wees van daai 3 term. Which means, and luckily we don't do this anymore, if I divide that trinomial by one of the brackets, my answer will be 0. My remainder will be 0. Okay. En dit is waarop ons nou gaan werk. Ons gaan sê, om ons eerste hakie te kry, and if we only get the first bracket in this period, then I'm fine. To get our first bracket, we are going to look for a number that gives us a remainder of 0. And you do that by substituting numbers in. Which numbers? You don't just gaan mal en kies enige iets. You look at the constant term at the end. The 6. Wat is faktore van 6? 1, minus 1, 2, minus 2, 3, minus 3. Do you guys agree that negative 2 and negative 3, negative 2 times negative 3 gives you 6? So then there must be factors of 6. Okay. So now we start off. En hiervoor gebruik jy jou selfrekenaar. And you don't have to write this out, but I'm going to do it today. Type that into your calculator. I went and I substituted 1 into that. Is that 0? No. Yes. Can 500 be a factor of 6? Then I'll still start with the small ones. But we normally give, like, you will have to substitute to 1 minus 1, 2 minus 2, 3 minus 3, at the most 4 minus 4. So it'll be a number like 12 or like 10 or something like that. But it'll be something that you can find factors for easily. Okay. Good. Is that... Alles is alright. Amper val ek om op. Te vinnig opgestaan daar. If I faint, just carry on, okay? Goed. Okay. Is it 0? Did you do it? I I typed it into my calculator. Wat kry julle hier? No. Celebrate. Because that means that that is a factor of that trinomial. Ag, polynomial. Maar nou moet jy versigtig wees hoe jy dit instel. Want stem julle saam, as ek 'n ding oplos. If I solve this, let's say I said x plus 1, x plus 2 is equal to 0. Wat is jou antwoorde vir x dan? It'll be x is equal to minus 1 or x is equal to minus 2. Do you agree? So then if you substituted minus 1 like we did now and you found that it is a factor, it means that the bracket looks like this. The bracket is x plus 1. So ons het gaan instel en gesien dat minus 1 is 'n factor. So dit beteken as ek hierdie 3 term het, then a factor of that will be x plus 1. Kyk net weer mooi. Onthou, as ek 'n hakie het, wat is x plus 1 en ek gaan los hom op, dan is my antwoord mos x is gelyk aan minus 1. Do you guys agree? So if you found the factor, then you put it into a bracket, but you change the sign. So let's say we substituted negative 4 in, and we got that it has a remainder of 0. Then your bracket will be x plus 4. Okay. Now, this all's good and well, but we cannot continue like that. Because now the numbers might be something like negative 3 over 4. Or whatever. Nee? So van hier af, gaan het wees dat if you have that bracket, then this is a quadratic trinomial. So if we can find the quadratic trinomial, then you can factorize that. You can do it. Okay, so daar gaan 'n kwadratiese 3 term wees. Okay, so voordat ek aangaan, kom ons check net eers tot daar. Remember guys, the first one we do is always tough. It gets easier. Kyk, julle almal weet nou wat 'n factor is, en julle weet hoe om die eerste hakie te kry. Everyone with me up to there? Okay, now we have left a bracket, which we know is one of our solutions, and then another bracket, which holds a quadratic trinomial. So now you're going to use the cubic function as a template to find the values of a, b, and c there. And I'm going to show you why, or how. Okay. Stem julle saam? Dat as ek nou gaan uitmaal, julle kan onthou van uitmaal net, dan doen jy daai, en dan daai. If I go and do that, then the only two things that I multiply with one another that will give you a constant is when you do this. Nee man. This times this. Alles anders gaan 'n x of 'n x kwadraat of 'n x tot die mag 3 hê. Kyk hoe my wat sê. As ek byvoorbeeld gaan en ek gaan sê daai ene maal daai ene. Dit kan mos nie vir my 'n konstante gee nie, né? Want daar is 'n x kwadraat daarin. As ek gaan en sê daai ene maal daai ene, dan is dit ook nie 'n konstante nie want x maal x is x kwadraat. So the only two things written there that when you multiply them with one another will give you a constant is when you multiply the 1 with the value of C. Stem julle saam? Do you all agree with that? Ja? Sien julle almal? Al die ander terme as ek hulle nou gaan uitmaal, gaan of 'n x of 'n x kwadraat of 'n x tot die mag 3 hê. Good. What is the only constant in my original? 6. So what must the value of C be? 6. How do I know that? Because 1 times what will give you 6? 6. Okay. So let's say this was x negative 2. What will the value of C be then? Negative 3. Because the negative 2 times the C value has to give you the constant at the top. Do you guys see that? Okay. So for this one, grade 12s, you don't need to show me a fancy calculation. Use your common sense. Jy gebruik daai hakie wat jy aan die begin gekry het. En jy sê hierdie moet wees plus 6. Okay. Now following that same logic, and I'm going to explain it to you guys twice. The only two things that I will multiply with one another that will give me a cube, x to the power of 3, is when I multiply the x with the x squared. Dink gou daaroor, né? Want as ek hom met hom gaan maal, gaan ek mos hê x tot die mag 3. Maar as ek hom met hom gaan maal, gaan ek hê x tot die mag 2. En as ek hom daar gaan maal, gaan ek hê x. Iets x tot die mag 1. And when I multiply the 1, the highest order it can have is x to the power of 2. So it can't go to x to the power of 3. Stem julle almal saam dat die enigste twee goed wanneer ek hulle met mekaar gaan maal, wat gaan uitkom by 'n tot die mag 3, is wanneer ek hierdie ene maal met daai ene. Okay. Now the only term that has a x to the power of 3 is that. So basies vra jy nou vir jouself, as ek weet ek het 'n x, daai x, maal met ax kwadraat en dit gee vir my x tot die mag 3. Wat moet a wees? Do you guys agree? Because x times 1x squared gives me 1x to the power of 3. Is jy wakker nou man? Woo! Okay, daai is die twee maklikes. Massive enjoyment from you guys, I can see it. Nie worry nie, ons gaan nog baie doen. And now, die Thai toffee is beer. Because there's two different combinations that when you multiply them with one another, you will get to something x squared. The first one is when you do this, that times that. Do you guys agree that that will give me bx squared? X times bx is bx squared. Okay. En dan gaan daar nog ene wees. Wanneer jy daai ene gaan maal met daai ene. Né? Maar ons het hom klaar opgelos. Wat is die waarde van a? 1. So this one times that one will give you x squared. Alles anders gaan of vir jou 'n x, of 'n x tot die mag 3, of 'n konstante gee. And those two added together must be negative 4x squared. Yo, man broke us today. Okay. Dan gaan hy weer